Why is it that two people can face the same illness yet their stories unfold so differently? One recovers quickly, almost effortlessly, while the other struggles for years. Perhaps you have noticed this in your own life. The body often whispers before it raises its voice. Shoulders stiffen during a tense conversation. The stomach knots before difficult words are spoken. The heart beats faster even when no danger is present. These are not random malfunctions. They are part of an ancient dialogue between the body and the mind, a language many of us have forgotten how to understand. In distant monasteries and quiet corners of the world, some people never lost this skill. They move with calm presence, heal more naturally, and seem to carry their age with grace. Their secret is not locked away in rare herbs or hidden rituals. It is something far more simple, letting go of what was never truly theirs to hold, and listening deeply to what remains. Imagine your body as a lifelong companion that writes to you every day. Some letters are filled with quiet gratitude, others arrive as urgent signals written in the language of pain, fatigue, or restlessness. Too often we set these letters aside, convinced they are inconveniences rather than guidance. Yet the messages never stop. They grow louder, asking to be heard. What if healing is not about adding more treatments or more fixes, but about subtraction? What if the medicine you have been searching for is already within you, waiting patiently for your attention? As you breathe in this very moment, you are invited to open the first letter, to listen, and to begin a conversation that could transform the way you understand your own body and the way it heals. Healing begins not when we do more, but when we learn how to listen. Most of us have been trained to treat our bodies as machines. When something hurts, we want to repair it. When something feels uncomfortable, we want to silence it. Yet what if pain and discomfort are not problems to be fixed, but messengers trying to be heard? Every sensation tells a story. Every ache is a message written in the language of the body, a language as old as life itself. When your joints ache after an argument, when your stomach twists before a conversation, you are avoiding when your throat feels tight after swallowing your words. These are not random events. They are signals guiding you toward truths that your mind may not wish to face. There was once a woman who carried an invisible weight in her chest for nearly 4 years. It was not a sharp pain, but a steady pressure that made her feel as though a stone had taken residence in her body. She visited doctors, took tests, changed her diet, but nothing explained it. One evening, exhausted from searching, she sat quietly in her room and simply breathed. In that silence, a memory surfaced: the death of her father, a grief she had never allowed herself to feel. Tears came gently, not like a storm, but like a soft rain that had been waiting for years. The next morning, something had shifted. The pressure in her chest was lighter. It was not gone, but it no longer demanded her attention with the same urgency. Her body had been heard. That alone was enough to begin the healing. The Buddha taught more than 2,000 years ago that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The body will feel discomfort, but it is the resistance of the mind, the stories we attach to that discomfort, that create suffering. The body's language is not one of punishment. It is a call for awareness. When you resist the call, the voice grows louder. When you listen, the urgency softens. Imagine your body as a loyal friend who has been trying to reach you for years. This friend does not use words, but communicates through tension, fatigue, or illness. If you ignore the letters this friend writes, they become louder, more insistent. But once you pause and listen, the friend relaxes, knowing the message has been delivered. Listening requires a change in how we relate to sensation. Instead of asking, "How can I make this go away?" we can ask, "What are you trying to tell me?" This shift changes everything. Suddenly the headache is not a curse, but a signal of unspoken words. The tight chest is not failure, but a reminder of unresolved grief. The tense shoulders are not weakness, but evidence of burdens carried too long. There was a man who lived with chronic headaches for years. He tried medication, strict diets, and endless treatments. Relief never lasted. During a mindfulness retreat, he stopped fighting the pain and breathed into it instead. As he stayed with the sensation, he noticed a pattern. The headaches always came after conversations in which he had remained silent. His body was carrying the weight of everything left unsaid. When he began to speak more honestly, the headaches changed. They did not vanish, but they became guides rather than enemies. Each time pain appeared, he asked himself, "What truth am I avoiding?" Over time, he learned to speak before his body had to shout. This is the essence of the first principle. Pain is not the enemy, it is the messenger. And messengers, when honored, often transform into healers. Developing the art of listening. To practice this principle, begin simply. Right now, notice your breath. Is it shallow or deep? Notice your shoulders. Are they rising toward your ears as if preparing for a threat? Notice your jaw. Is it clenched against invisible resistance? These are not signs of weakness. They are invitations. Your body is reminding you that it is here, aware, responding to your world. When you acknowledge these sensations without rushing to change them, something shifts. It is like answering a phone that has been ringing for hours. The urgency dissolves because the message has finally been received. This practice does not require complex rituals. It requires only presence and willingness. As you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet. As you eat, notice the texture and taste of the food. As you sit, bring your awareness to the rhythm of your breathing. These small acts are the beginning of a new relationship with your body, one built on respect rather than control. The body speaks not only in physical sensation but in metaphor. A broken heart can ache in the chest. A heavy responsibility can create tension in the shoulders. An inability to stand up for yourself may feel like chronic weakness in the back. These are not coincidences. They are poetry written in the language of flesh and bone. One woman discovered that her persistent digestive issues were not only about food. They were about what she could not digest in her life, a job that drained her spirit, a relationship that no longer nourished her, and dreams she had swallowed to keep others comfortable. When she began to face these truths, her body began to ease. Healing was not only physical, it was the release of burdens carried too long. Trusting the wisdom of the body, modern culture often teaches us to push through discomfort, to silence pain, to override the signals of fatigue. But Zen understanding offers another perspective. The body is not a battlefield to conquer, but a wise companion to respect. Think about the resilience of your body. Your heart has been beating since the day you were born without your effort. Your lungs breathe while you sleep, your wounds close, your immune system fights battles you will never see. Even when you criticize it, neglect it, or take it for granted, your body continues to serve you with quiet loyalty. This is not just biology. It is a form of love expressed through action. Your body has never stopped believing in you even when you have doubted it. When you begin to trust its messages, a new partnership is formed. Healing no longer feels like a struggle. It feels like a reunion. To build this trust, try a simple practice before sleep. Place your hand gently on your heart. Breathe slowly and say, "I am here, I hear you." At first you may feel nothing. That is fine. Or you may feel waves of sadness, forgotten memories, or a quiet sense of peace. Whatever arises, welcome it as you would welcome an old friend at your door. Stories the body holds. Your body carries not only your present emotions but the memory of your entire life. It remembers the grief you never expressed, the anger you swallowed, the joy you never allowed yourself to feel. Sometimes tension appears not because of what is happening now, but because of something the mind has forgotten while the body has remembered. A woman once felt uneasy every time her extended family gathered. She loved them dearly, yet her stomach always turned. With reflection, she realized her body was remembering childhood dinners filled with unspoken conflict. Decades later, the stomach still braced for hidden tension. This awareness did not erase family difficulties, but it gave her clarity. She learned to take breaks, step outside for air, and whisper to her body, "I hear you, I will take care of us." This shows us that the body is not only reactive but deeply wise. It holds the entire library of our lives. Every kindness, every wound, every silence is stored in its pages. By listening, we gain access to truths the mind may overlook, from messenger to healer. When you begin to see symptoms not as failures but as communication, your relationship with your body transforms. The headache becomes a reminder to speak. The back pain becomes a signal to release burdens. The racing heart becomes a teacher about fear and courage. This does not mean every illness is emotional or that medicine has no role. Bodies get sick, accidents happen, organs fail. But even in illness, the way you relate to your body matters. Do you approach it with fear and frustration or with patience and compassion? The quality of this relationship can change the quality of your life, even if the body's challenges remain. Zen masters often teach that the body is a sutra, a sacred text. Every sensation is a verse. Every breath is a teaching. Every heartbeat is a reminder that life is flowing through you in this very moment. The second principle, emotions stored in the body. If the first principle teaches us that pain is a messenger, then the second principle reveals what those messages are often about. They are not random signals, but echoes of unexpressed emotions. What the mind refuses to feel, the body will remember. What is silenced in speech becomes written in muscle, bone, and breath. From childhood, many of us were told not to cry, not to be angry, not to be too sensitive. These instructions may have been given with good intentions, but they taught us that certain feelings were unacceptable. The result is that our bodies became the storage rooms of unspoken grief, unacknowledged anger, and unexpressed fear. Imagine your body as a house. Every time you swallow your sadness instead of letting yourself cry, it is like placing a heavy box in the attic. Each time you silence your anger, another box is added. For a while, the attic seems spacious, but as the years pass, the boxes pile up. The floor begins to sag, the beams strain under the weight. Sooner or later, the structure can no longer carry what has been stored. That is when the body begins to whisper, then shout. There was a man who lived with pain in his shoulders for nearly a decade. He had tried massage, physical therapy, even injections, but nothing brought lasting relief. One day, in a quiet moment of reflection, he asked his shoulders what they had been holding. The answer came not as words, but as a memory. His father had died when he was 18, and from that day forward, he had carried the responsibility of supporting his family. His shoulders were not only holding muscle tension, they were holding 30 years of unspoken burden. Recognizing this did not instantly cure the pain, but it opened a doorway. By gradually sharing responsibilities with others and acknowledging his own grief, the load began to lighten and the pain softened. Another story tells of a teacher who felt her throat tighten during meetings. At first, she thought it was stress or fatigue, but after observing the pattern, she realized the tightness only appeared in situations where she felt unheard. Her throat was preparing for silence. When she began to speak earlier and more firmly, the constriction lessened. The body had been carrying her voice for her, waiting for her to reclaim it. This is the way the body works. Each organ, each muscle, each system has a story to tell. The liver often carries anger, the gut holds fear, the chest stores grief, the jaw carries unspoken tension. These are not rigid rules, but poetic truths that reveal the deep link between feeling and flesh. Consider a woman who suffered from chronic digestive problems. No medical explanation fully resolved them. With gentle inquiry, she realized her stomach was not only digesting food, but also experiences she could not accept. She was trying to swallow a toxic job, a painful relationship, and unfulfilled dreams. When she began to make changes, leaving what no longer nourished her, her digestion improved. The body had been waiting for her to face truths too bitter to swallow. This principle does not mean that every illness is emotional or that we should abandon medical treatment. Bodies are complex, and sometimes disease arrives without clear cause. But it does mean that our relationship with emotions plays a crucial role in how the body carries health or illness. Suppression is like stagnant water. What is not allowed to flow begins to rot. One participant in a meditation retreat broke down in tears on the second day. For decades, she had never grieved her mother's death. She had been too busy caring for others, too determined to be strong. When the tears finally came, they were not violent but steady, as if the body itself had been waiting for permission. Afterwards, she said, "I feel as if I have come home to myself for the first time in years." Her fatigue began to lift. Her body had been holding her grief until she was ready to meet it. Zen Buddhism does not encourage us to bypass emotions in the name of peace. Instead, it invites us to bow to them, to sit with sadness, to acknowledge anger, to allow fear to be felt. Because what we do not feel, we cannot heal. Think of anger. If denied, it hardens into headaches, clenched jaws, or digestive problems. But if acknowledged with awareness, anger reveals where boundaries have been crossed. It transforms into the strength to protect oneself. Grief, when swallowed, can create heaviness in the chest. But when allowed, grief reveals how deeply we have loved. Fear, when unacknowledged, can live in the stomach as anxiety, but when honored, fear becomes wisdom, showing us what truly matters. Your emotions are not enemies. They are guides, each carrying vital information about your life. They are not meant to dominate you, but neither are they meant to be ignored. They are meant to move through you like weather through the sky. Clouds form, pass, and dissolve. When you let feelings move naturally, they leave space for clarity. When you resist them, they stagnate. There was a woman who described her anxiety not as fear but as a hummingbird trapped in her chest. For years she tried to silence it. Only when she sat quietly and listened did she realize the hummingbird was not fear at all. It was excitement, energy, and creativity that she had been taught to suppress. She had been told it was dangerous to hope, dangerous to want too much. Her anxiety was unexpressed, vitality wearing the mask of fear. Once she recognized this, the anxiety softened. It became a companion rather than an enemy. The wisdom of the body lies in its metaphors. A heavy heart, a lump in the throat, a weight on the shoulders, a pain in the gut. These expressions exist in language because they exist in experience. They are not coincidences. They are poetry spoken through the body, reminding us that mind and flesh are inseparable. The practice here is simple but not easy. It is to sit with your emotions without judgment, to breathe with them as you would with a guest in your home. If grief arrives, greet it with respect. If anger appears, acknowledge its presence. If fear comes, let it be seen. This does not mean indulging in every emotion or acting them out without care. It means offering them the dignity of awareness, the hospitality of presence. A Zen master once compared emotions to guests in a house. Some are welcome, others are difficult, but all deserve acknowledgement. When we welcome even the painful guests, they often reveal their gifts. Grief deepens compassion. Anger strengthens boundaries. Fear sharpens wisdom. Each emotion, when honored, transforms. One man described his chronic irritability as living with a smoke alarm that never stopped beeping. Through reflection, he realized that beneath the irritability was unexpressed grief. He had never allowed himself to be sad, so sadness transformed into constant agitation. When he finally permitted himself to cry, the irritability softened. The alarm no longer rang without reason. It returned to its natural function, signaling only when truly necessary. This is the revolutionary invitation of the second principle: to stop seeing emotions as threats or weaknesses, and to start recognizing them as allies. To understand that the body carries emotions not to harm us, but to preserve them until we are ready. To know that healing comes not from escaping feelings, but from embracing them. Your body has been your companion since birth. It has recorded every joy and every sorrow, storing even the feelings you wish to forget. It does not betray you when it aches or tightens. It reminds you of what still asks to be felt. The work is not to fight these reminders, but to thank them, to feel what was once avoided, and to let the energy move at last. This practice requires courage. Many fear that if they begin to feel their sadness or anger, it will overwhelm them. But the opposite is true. What you resist grows heavier. What you allow moves through. The tears you have postponed will not drown you. They will wash you clean. The anger you have silenced will not destroy you. It will free you to protect yourself. The fear you have hidden will not paralyze you. It will teach you what truly matters. The body is not a prison of emotions, but a temple that stores their sacred energy until you are ready to meet them. Each emotion is both a challenge and a teacher. Each sensation is both a burden and a gift. When you honor them with attention, you no longer live as a prisoner of the past. You live as a participant in the present, whole and alive. The second principle, therefore, reminds us that the body is a living archive. It keeps every story, every silence, every loss. When we finally enter that archive with compassion, we discover not only the pain we avoided, but also the strength we gained, the love we carried, the resilience we built. To heal is not to erase emotions, but to integrate them. To allow sadness to deepen love, anger to clarify boundaries, and fear to awaken courage. This is how the body transforms from storage into wisdom, from burden into strength. And so we come to see that healing is not about escaping the storm of emotion, but about learning to let the storm pass through. It is about trusting that after every storm the sky clears. And in that clarity we find not only health, but also freedom. The third principle: presence as medicine. If the first principle teaches us that pain is a messenger, and the second reveals that the body stores our unexpressed emotions, the third principle shows us how to meet both pain and emotion in a way that transforms them. The medicine is presence. Presence is simple to describe but difficult to practice. It means being exactly where you are, fully aware of what is happening right now. Not lost in yesterday's regrets, not racing toward tomorrow's anxieties, but here with this breath, this body, this moment. Most of our suffering arises not from what is happening now, but from our resistance to it. We replay the past in endless loops, adding layers of judgment and blame. We project into the future, imagining dangers that have not yet arrived. In doing so, we abandon the only place where healing can occur, which is the present. The Buddha spoke of this as the root of suffering. Pain is part of life, but suffering is optional because it is created by the stories we tell ourselves about pain. To be present is to set down the stories even for a moment and experience life as it is rather than as we fear it to be. There was once a man who lived with chronic back pain. For years he fought against it, trying every treatment, blaming himself, blaming others, feeling cheated by life. His days were a battle, and his nights were filled with anger. One afternoon, exhausted from fighting, he sat quietly in his garden under a tree. He did not try to meditate. He did not try to heal. He simply stopped running from the pain. He noticed the rustling of leaves, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of his own breath. For the first time in years, he allowed the pain to be exactly as it was. Something remarkable happened. The pain was still present, but the suffering surrounding it began to dissolve. He no longer felt attacked by his own body. Instead, he felt companionship. The pain had become a guest rather than an enemy. This is the secret of presence. It does not erase difficulty, but it changes our relationship to it. The same fire that once burned us can become warmth when approached with respect. The same storm that once terrified us can become awe when we stop resisting its rain. Presence is like holding a snow globe. When shaken, everything is chaos, flakes swirling with no clarity. But if you set it down and wait, the snow settles and the scene becomes clear. The mind is the same. When constantly shaken by thought and resistance, life feels confused and overwhelming. When stillness is allowed, clarity appears naturally. The practice of presence can begin with something as ordinary as walking. Instead of rushing from one task to the next, notice the ground beneath your feet. Feel the rhythm of your steps. Listen to the sounds around you. This simple act brings you back to the body, back to the moment, back to the medicine that is always available. Eating can become a meditation as well. Instead of swallowing food, quickly taste each bite. Notice its texture, its warmth, its nourishment. Gratitude arises naturally when you realize that countless forces of sun, rain, earth, and labor have brought this food to your plate. In that awareness, eating transforms from routine into ritual. Even brushing your teeth or washing dishes can become acts of presence. The water on your skin, the movement of your hands, the rhythm of your breath, all can anchor you in the here and now. This is why Zen monks treat every action, no matter how small, as sacred. It is not the act itself, but the attention given that turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. Presence is also the medicine for emotional storms. When sadness arises, the instinct is to resist or distract ourselves. But when we stay present with sadness, breathing gently, it becomes less frightening. We begin to see that sadness is not endless. It has a rhythm, a rise and fall like waves on the shore. When anger arises, presence allows us to feel the heat without immediately acting on it. We notice its energy, its intensity, and we can channel it into clarity and protection rather than destruction. Fear too changes in the light of presence. Left unexamined, fear multiplies in the shadows. Faced directly with awareness, it shrinks. Most fears are not happening in the present. They are projections into the future or echoes of the past. When we return to the body and the breath, we discover that in this very moment we are safe. A woman once described her life as an endless race. She rushed through work, through meals, even through rest. She feared that if she slowed down, everything would collapse. Then one day her body forced her to stop with exhaustion so severe she could hardly move. At first she panicked, but slowly, as she surrendered to the present, she discovered something surprising. Life continued without her constant rushing. The world did not collapse. Instead, she began to notice details. She had long ignored the sound of birds outside her window, the warmth of tea in her hands, the kindness in the eyes of strangers. Presence did not make her life smaller, it made it richer. The challenge of presence is that it requires trust. Trust that this moment, however uncomfortable, is enough. Trust that by being with what is, we will find the resources to meet it. Trust that healing is not in some distant future, but available now. Meditation is one way to cultivate this trust. It is not about emptying the mind, but about observing it with patience. When thoughts race, we notice them and return to the breath. When sensations arise, we feel them without judgment. When emotions come, we acknowledge them as part of the passing weather of the mind. Over time, this practice builds resilience. We learn that no storm lasts forever. Presence is also about compassion. To be present with yourself means to sit with your own pain as you would with a friend. If a friend came to you in tears, you would not rush to silence them or tell them to stop feeling. You would listen, hold space, offer comfort. Presence asks you to give yourself the same kindness. The medicine of presence extends beyond personal healing. When you are truly present with another person, you give them a gift more valuable than advice or solutions. You give them your attention. To listen deeply without judgment can be more healing than any words. In a world where distraction is constant, presence is rare. That rarity makes it powerful. The body thrives in presence because the body is always in the present. Your heart does not beat yesterday or tomorrow. Your breath does not happen in the past or future. The body is anchored here, and when the mind returns to it, healing begins. Presence does not eliminate life's difficulties, but it changes everything about how we meet them. Pain may remain, but suffering lessens. Emotions may arise, but they no longer control us. Fear may knock at the door, but we learn to greet it calmly. In presence, we find strength we did not know we had. The third principle then is to recognize that the greatest medicine is not found in bottles or books, but in awareness itself. To be here fully with your breath, your body, your life, to stop fleeing from the moment, and to discover that this moment is enough. When you sit quietly and allow presence to fill you, you may realize something profound. The healing you sought outside has always been within. The peace you chased in the future has always been here, waiting patiently for your return. The fourth principle: aging as a return to essence. In many cultures, aging is treated as decline, a slow slipping away from beauty, vitality, and worth. Wrinkles are hidden, gray hairs are dyed, bodies are trained to resist the inevitable. Yet in Zen, understanding impermanence is not an enemy, it is a teacher. Aging is not the beginning of the end, it is the beginning of seeing more clearly. Consider a tree in autumn. Its leaves blaze with color, more radiant in their last days than in their first. A piece of fruit ripens slowly, growing richer in flavor until it falls. A temple built centuries ago does not lose its dignity when the stones darken and the wood weathers. Instead, it gains depth, character, and presence. The same is true of human life. There was once a woman who spent her younger years fearing every sign of age. She avoided mirrors, hid her laughter to prevent new lines, and searched for ways to preserve youth. Yet despite her efforts, time moved forward. One morning she looked into the mirror and saw silver hair where once there was dark lines around her eyes, where once there was smoothness. Instead of despair, she felt something new. She smiled, not in resignation, but in recognition. These lines were not flaws. They were the maps of her life, evidence of laughter, worry, and love. Her gray hair caught the light in ways her younger hair never had, like threads of moonlight woven into her. For the first time, she saw beauty in what she had feared. This is the invitation of aging: to stop clinging to youth and to begin embracing essence. Youth is about expansion, seeking proving. Age is about distillation, clarity, and truth. The surface may change, but what matters most becomes stronger. Compassion deepens, wisdom ripens, presence grows. Zen teachers remind us that life is precious because it changes. If everything lasted forever, nothing would be special. A sunset moves us because it fades. A flower is beautiful because it will wither. Human beings are no different. Every wrinkle is proof that time has touched you, that you have lived through seasons, that you have endured. Aging with awareness is not about denial, but about transformation. Instead of resisting, we ask, how can I do this beautifully? How can I live these years with grace, dignity, and presence? The answer is not found in chasing youth, but in honoring time. In Japan, there is an aesthetic known as wabi-sabi, the beauty of imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. A cracked tea bowl mended with gold becomes more valuable than one without cracks. A weathered temple wall covered with moss is more cherished than a newly painted one. Beauty lies not in resisting time, but in dancing with it. When applied to life, wabi-sabi means that our lines, scars, and changes are not signs of loss, but of richness. One elder monk was once asked why he smiled more in his 70s than he had in his 30s. He answered, "When I was young, I smiled to be liked. Now I smile because I see more clearly." Youth was about proving. Age is about being. The pressure of youth is to achieve, to accumulate, to define oneself through outward measures. The gift of aging is that these pressures begin to fade. You no longer need to prove as much. You discover freedom in simply being who you are. The essence shines through. This is not to deny that aging has challenges. The body slows, joints ache, memory falters. Yet even these are invitations. Slowing down teaches presence. Pain teaches patience. Forgetfulness teaches humility. Each change carries wisdom if we are willing to listen. A man once said, "When I was young, I thought I would conquer the world. Now that I am old, I see that the world is not to be conquered but embraced." His body no longer allowed him to climb mountains or run marathons, but he had discovered joy in simple things. The taste of fruit, the sound of rain, the company of loved ones. He had not lost life. He had found its essence. Aging with awareness asks us to stop measuring value by the surface. The smoothness of skin is fleeting. The strength of muscle diminishes. But kindness, wisdom, and compassion deepen endlessly. The most beautiful older faces are not flawless, but radiant with gentleness. The most inspiring older lives are not perfect, but marked by courage, resilience, and grace. Think of the elders you admire most. What makes them beautiful? Is it their smooth skin? Or is it the light in their eyes, the warmth in their voice, the steadiness in their presence? These qualities do not fade with age. They are strengthened by it. In this sense, aging is not decline, but revelation. It reveals what cannot be taken away. The body changes, but the essence becomes more visible. Just as a sculptor removes stone to reveal the statue, within time removes illusions to reveal the truth of who we are. The fourth principle of healing through Zen is therefore to embrace aging not as a loss, but as a return to essence. It is to see impermanence as a reminder that life is precious. It is to welcome the marks of time as evidence of courage and love. It is to allow yourself to ripen rather than resist. Practical ways to live this principle include gratitude for the body as its island. Each morning, instead of mourning what has changed, thank your body for what it still does. Thank your legs for carrying you even if more slowly. Thank your hands for holding, creating, or comforting. Thank your heart for beating faithfully. Gratitude turns aging from fear into reverence. Another practice is to spend time with things that age gracefully. Visit old trees, weathered buildings, worn books. Notice how their age gives them dignity rather than disgrace. See yourself reflected in them. Recognize that you too are gaining character with time. Finally, surround yourself with communities that honor aging rather than fear it. In many traditional cultures, elders are valued as wisdom keepers. They are not pushed aside, but invited to guide. When you see aging as service rather than decline, you begin to live it with purpose. Aging is not the end of beauty. It is a new kind of beauty, one that cannot be faked or purchased. It is the beauty of authenticity, of truth revealed, of essence shining through. To walk this path is to accept the marks of time with dignity. To bow to impermanence not in defeat but in reverence. To see each year not as something stolen but as something given. When you embrace this principle, you discover that aging is not something to fear but something to cherish. It is not the loss of youth but the unfolding of wisdom. It is not the fading of life but the deepening of its meaning. The fourth principle, then, is a call to shift perspective. To look in the mirror and see not decay, but the evidence of living. To feel not despair, but gratitude. To recognize that each line, each scar, each change is proof that you have been brave enough to keep going. And so aging becomes not decline, but a return to essence, a return to what cannot be destroyed by time, a return to the truth of who you are. The fifth principle, gratitude and dialogue with the body. After learning to listen, to feel, to stay present, and to embrace impermanence, there is one final step that brings everything together. It is the practice of gratitude and dialogue with your body. The body is not just a vehicle that carries the mind. It is a companion that has served you from your first breath. Every day without your command, it has worked tirelessly to keep you alive. Your heart has beaten millions of times without asking for thanks. Your lungs have breathed through joy and sorrow. Your skin has protected you, your immune system has defended you, your bones have held you upright. Even when you neglected, criticized, or overworked it, your body remained loyal. To begin a new relationship with this faithful companion, gratitude is essential. Gratitude softens the harshness of judgment. Instead of looking in the mirror and focusing on flaws, you begin to see gifts. Instead of resenting what the body cannot do, you begin to appreciate what it still does. This shift changes everything. Imagine for a moment what your body might say if it could speak in words. Perhaps it would begin simply, "Thank you for finally listening. I have been trying to reach you through aches and tensions, but now that you are paying attention, I can speak more clearly." Your body might remind you of all the times it carried you through sleepless nights, demanding days, and painful experiences. It might ask you to forgive yourself for ignoring its needs, for treating it as an enemy rather than a friend. It might ask you to slow down, to rest, to savor. There was a woman who struggled with self-criticism every time she looked at herself. She saw only what was wrong: weight gained, skin aged, strength diminished. One day, guided by her teacher, she placed her hand on her heart and whispered, "Thank you. Thank you for beating all these years. Thank you for never abandoning me." She cried as she realized she had never once thanked her body. From that day forward, she began to see herself differently. Her body had not betrayed her. It had been protecting her, carrying her, loving her in its own quiet way. Another story tells of a man who wrote a letter to his body. He apologized for the years of neglect, for pushing through exhaustion, for feeding it poorly, for speaking to it with disdain. Then he thanked it for its loyalty. As he wrote, he felt a wave of tenderness, as if reconnecting with a part of himself he had long abandoned. This simple act of dialogue opened a door. He began to move, eat, and rest with more care. His health improved not because of a new diet or exercise plan, but because he had finally remembered that his body was not an object, but a friend. This is the essence of the fifth principle: to enter into conversation with your body as you would with someone you love. The practice is simple but profound. Each night before sleep, place your hand on your heart and whisper words of gratitude. Each morning, greet your body with kindness before you step into the day. When pain arises, ask gently, "What are you trying to tell me?" When fatigue comes, say, "I hear you, let us rest." The body responds to kindness. Modern science even confirms this. Stress weakens the immune system, while gratitude and compassion strengthen it. The nervous system calms when we are gentle with ourselves. Healing unfolds more naturally when the body feels safe. Gratitude is not only spiritual practice, it is physiological medicine. Zen teachings speak of the body as one of the four foundations of mindfulness. To be mindful of the body is not to treat it as an obstacle to transcend, but as a sacred teacher. Every sensation is a teaching. Every breath is a reminder. Every heartbeat is an opportunity to return to the present. In this way, dialogue with the body is not fantasy. It is practice. It is choosing to treat your body with respect as you would a wise elder. It is learning to ask, "What do you need?" It is learning to listen with patience. Sometimes the answer will be rest. Sometimes it will be movement. Sometimes it will be the courage to feel emotions long avoided. One elder monk described aging as a deepening friendship with his body. He said, "When I was young, I demanded everything from it. I wanted speed, strength, endurance. I treated it like a servant. Now in age, I treat it as my teacher. It asks me to slow down, to be gentle, to savor each step. And because I listen, I feel more peace than ever before." The fifth principle therefore transforms the body from battlefield to sanctuary. Instead of fighting against it, you learn to live with it. Instead of commanding it, you learn to collaborate with it. Instead of ignoring it, you learn to honor it. In this way, gratitude and dialogue become the final medicine, the culmination of all the other principles. Practical ways to cultivate this practice include mindful touch. Place your hand on your heart, your belly, or your shoulders, and breathe with awareness. This simple act can shift your relationship with your body from criticism to kindness. Another practice is mirror meditation. Instead of looking into the mirror with judgment, look with curiosity. Notice the lines, the changes, the uniqueness of your face. See them not as flaws, but as evidence of living. Speak words of gratitude for each sign of time, for each story written on your skin. Journaling can also serve as dialogue. Write a letter to your body each week. Let it write back. Ask what it needs, what it has been carrying, what it wants you to remember. At first, the words may feel strange, but over time they will reveal truths you did not know you carried. Perhaps the most important practice is to remember that your body has always loved you. From your first breath, it has worked tirelessly on your behalf. Even now, as you read these words, your heart beats without your effort, your lungs breathe without your command, your cells renew without your awareness. This loyalty is extraordinary. To recognize it is to awaken gratitude that can transform the way you live. The fifth principle shows us that healing is not only about removing pain or solving problems, it is about cultivating relationship. The body is not separate from you, it is you. To speak with it kindly, to thank it sincerely, to listen to it patiently is to live in harmony with yourself. When you combine listening, feeling, presence, acceptance of impermanence and gratitude, healing becomes not a project but a way of life. You no longer seek peace in distant places. You discover it here, in the rhythm of your own breath, in the beat of your own heart, in the companionship of your own body. The body has been waiting for this reunion. It has been whispering for years, writing letters you never opened, carrying emotions you never faced, asking for presence. You never gave aging with grace, even as you resisted remaining loyal, even when you forgot. Now, as you thank it, as you speak to it, as you honor it, the healing becomes complete. Gratitude and dialogue are not the end, but the beginning of a new relationship. A relationship in which the body is not an obstacle, but an ally, not an enemy, but a friend, not a burden, but a gift. This is the final principle: to be grateful, to be kind, to be in conversation, to remember that healing has always been less about fixing and more about listening, feeling, being, and loving. Final conclusion: a journey back to wholeness. As we come to the end of this journey together, let us pause and remember where we began. We began with the mystery of healing. Why does one person recover quickly, while another faced with the same illness continues to struggle for years? Why do some people seem to grow lighter with age, while others grow heavier, burdened by time? Why do some wounds become teachers, while others remain prisons? The answers we explored were not hidden in distant lands or locked away in ancient temples. They were here all along within your own body, waiting for you to listen. The 5 principles we have walked through are not abstract teachings. They are invitations to return home, to rediscover the wisdom you have carried since your first breath. The first principle reminded us that pain is not a punishment, it is a messenger. Every ache, every discomfort, every tension is a letter from your body written in a language older than words. Most of us spend our lives trying to silence these letters, to push them aside, to medicate them into silence. But when we finally stop and read them, they reveal not weakness, but truth. They tell us when to rest, when to change, when to let go. They remind us that the body is not against us. It is for us. It has always been for us. The second principle revealed the hidden cargo we carry. Emotions we refuse to feel do not vanish. They are stored in the body waiting. Grief becomes heaviness in the chest. Anger hardens the jaw. Fear knots the stomach. These are not failures of biology. They are signs of love that was unspoken, boundaries that were crossed, losses that were never mourned. To heal, we do not need to fight these emotions. We need to feel them, to weep the tears we avoided, to speak the words we swallowed, to let the storms pass so that the sky can clear again. The third principle showed us the medicine of presence. Healing is not in the past or the future. It is here, in the only moment we ever have. Pain itself is not the problem. It is the resistance to pain that multiplies suffering. When we stop running, when we sit with the breath, when we allow life to be what it is, peace appears. It does not need to be created. It was always here, waiting beneath the noise of our thoughts. Presence turns even ordinary acts into sacred rituals. Washing dishes, drinking tea, walking on the earth, each becomes a doorway back to wholeness. The fourth principle invited us to see aging not as decline but as revelation. Time does not steal beauty. It transforms it. Wrinkles are not cracks in the surface. They are maps of joy, worry, love, and resilience. Grey hair is not a loss of youth, but a crown woven from the threads of experience. In a world obsessed with resisting age, Zen reminds us that impermanence is what makes life precious. To age with awareness is not to fight against time, but to collaborate with it. It is to ripen, to distill, to return to essence. And the fifth principle brought us full circle: gratitude and dialogue with the body. For too long we have treated our bodies as machines to command, or as enemies to battle. But the body has never abandoned us. Through every mistake, every wound, every silence, it has continued to beat, to breathe, to serve. When we begin to thank it, to speak to it as a friend, everything changes. Healing becomes not a war, but a reunion. Gratitude transforms the body from battlefield to sanctuary. Together, these 5 principles form more than lessons. They form a path back to yourself, a path back to the home you never left. Now imagine this path as a circle. At one point, pain calls to you. At another, emotions rise. At another, presence anchors you. At another, time marks your skin. At another, gratitude heals your relationship with the very vessel that carries you. Each point is not separate. They are all part of the same circle of wholeness. To walk this path is to complete the circle, to return to yourself, to return to life as its island. Let us bring this home with one more reflection. Close your eyes if you wish and place your hand on your heart. Feel the rhythm beneath your palm. That steady beat has been with you since before you spoke your first word. It has carried you through storms you thought you would not survive. It has celebrated joys you thought you might never experience. And still at this very moment it continues, without demand for thanks, without hesitation. This is love. Not sentimental love, but love expressed through action, through loyalty, through presence. Now breathe deeply. Inhale, noticing how your lungs expand with no effort of will. Exhale, feeling the body release what is no longer needed. Each breath is a cycle of renewal, a reminder that life is always offering second chances, always giving new beginnings. Think of your legs, which have carried you through thousands of steps. Think of your hands, which have touched faces, built things, offered comfort. Think of your eyes, which have witnessed sunsets, tears, and laughter. Each part of you is a witness to your life, holding the record of everything you have endured and everything you have cherished. This is why healing begins with gratitude, because when you see the body not as broken but as miraculous, not as weak but as faithful, the way you live changes. You begin to move with more care. You eat with more reverence. You rest with more intention. And slowly the relationship with your body transforms into something sacred. So let us return to the question we began with. Why do some people heal while others continue to suffer? Perhaps the difference is not only in medicine or circumstance, but in relationship. Those who listen to their bodies, who allow emotions to move, who remain present, who honor impermanence, and who live in gratitude, discover a kind of healing that no prescription can provide. They discover wholeness even in the midst of pain. Healing in this sense is not the elimination of difficulty. It is the transformation of relationship. It is walking with your body instead of against it. It is feeling emotions as allies instead of enemies. It is meeting the moment as it is instead of as you wish it to be. It is embracing time instead of fearing it. It is thanking the body instead of cursing it. And so as we close, remember, this healing is not a destination you must reach. It is a way of walking. Each step, each breath, each heartbeat is an opportunity to walk this path. You do not need to wait for perfect conditions. You do not need to wait for the pain to vanish. You do not need to wait for life to be different. You can begin now in this very moment by listening, by feeling, by being present, by embracing impermanence, by giving thanks. As you leave this video, take with you not just ideas but practices. Tonight before you sleep, place your hand on your heart and whisper gratitude. Tomorrow when you feel tension, pause and ask what message it holds. When emotions rise, allow them to be felt rather than buried. When fear of age or change appears, remember the beauty of impermanence. And in all things, return to presence. This is the way of healing. Not dramatic, not instant, but steady, faithful, and true. It is the way of returning home to yourself. So here we end, but in truth, this is not an ending. It is an opening into a new way of living with your body, with your emotions, with your time, with your life. an opening into a journey of wholeness that is already waiting inside you. Remember, your body has never abandoned you. It has whispered, shouted, carried, and endured. All it asks now is that you listen, that you honor it, that you walk beside it with kindness. If you do, healing will no longer be a distant dream. It will be the reality you live each day, one breath at a time.